And as always, even as the NFL regular season wraps up, there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets just by placing a $5 bet. It's simple. Place a bet if you're a new customer and you get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is simple to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, such as same game live parlays. You can find bets in the Explorer tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find popular parlays, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. And Aditi Kinkhabwala, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, is now joining us live from Pittsburgh. What's up, Aditi?
Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry I'm late this morning.
It's all right. We were just having a fiery debate about comeback player of the year.
And she didn't hear it probably because she wasn't on.
Yeah.
So let's not tell her what any of us said.
Who would you
Tell
vote
us
for?
who will win it and who should win it.
Gosh.
Should we give you some of the top candidates?
Yes,
Please.
So, some of the top
obviously, you have DeMar Hamlin. We all think he should get his own.
He's the Vegas favorite
category. I mean, he hasn't played really this year. But of the legitimate candidates, you have Joe Flacco, Baker Mayfield, and Matthew Stafford.
And those are the 1, 2, 3, and 4 choices from Vegas.
And I will say of those three guys that each one of the three of us picked one of those three guys, picked different guys, but we won't tell you who picked who. So go ahead.
Well, I know that you didn't pick Baker. We can go with that.
You're right, but I did say he'd be my second choice.
Baker was your second choice.
He was my second choice, yeah.
Really? You're willing to give him some?
I always keep it real, Aditi. I always give my honest opinions. And he's played pretty well this year.
So who do you have?
You know what? I'll have to tell you. So I love the Joe Flacco story. I am completely on the record having said that. However, since it is about the entire year and not just the last month, I would go with Baker. I really would.
Got it right.
It's unfortunate you got it wrong there, Aditi.
Watching Baker with his teammates, watching Baker with his coaches, watching Baker on that sideline, seeing the way that people respond to him, knowing how he was written off as completely dead 3 teams last year, the whole mess of all of it, what he has overcome in, what did he have? 4 head coaches, 4 offenses, 4 play callers, then it just in Cleveland. Then being sent to
Carolina and then the Rams. So we had 6.
Los Angeles. Yeah, he's done some. He's also been that player that elevates guys around him. He's a great story too. He's a great, great, great story. And I think for a whole body of work, for a whole season, and Joe, as much as I love Joe Flacco stepped into a team that was a team that already had this established close-knit nature, this culture, this defense, this run game, this offensive line. That was all there. Baker had to help build a lot of that. And I don't mean personnel, but just build a new culture in the post-Tom Brady era. And he had to earn it. He went through a quarterback competition.
Yes, like you said, stepping in for the GOAT of all time.
Yeah.
Right.
Aditi, let me explain to you why you and Jay are both wrong and why the answer is clearly Matthew Stafford, not Joe Flacco. Matthew Stafford has won more games than Baker, despite playing 1 less. He plays in a significantly better division. They got the 49ers and the Seahawks in that division. Baker's playing against nobody. Matthew Stafford is 4-5 in games against teams over 500. Not great, but not terrible. Baker is 1-6 against teams over 500. If Baker played in any other division, he would not be going to the playoffs. The Rams were supposed to be just as bad, if not worse, than the Bucs this year. Both of them were equally terrible. They both were horrible last year. People thought Stafford was finished because of his injury. Stafford made the Pro Bowl. That's by the executives and coaches. Baker did not. He's got a better QBR. He's got less turnovers. He's got more yards per game. I mean, I don't see what the argument is.
Pro Bowl is the biggest popularity contest that is out there.
Agreed.
How else do you explain Justin Tucker over Dustin Hopkins? Don't give me Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that's
I agree to some point, but Matthew Stafford has earned that over Baker Mayfield. He's played better in a better division. And you want to talk about raising the
Okay,
talent.
but you're talking about who is a better quarterback.
Yeah.
Comeback player is who has made the greater comeback.
Matthew Stafford was awful last year, Aditi.
He's won a Super Bowl.
Nobody had said Matthew Stafford was a bust. Nobody had said Matthew Stafford was never going to be anything and was a has been, never had been, whatever. Everybody had.
It's not a point. It's not.
And what Baker has suffered in being run out of Cleveland.
Wasn't run out. He asked to be out.
To Cleveland. Oh yeah. Come on now. No. Comeback is about
we ran him out of here.
Yeah.
We got him.
Wait a second.
Here.
This is not
was not in the valley.
Aditi, this is not a career achievement award.
It is
Yeah,
what it
but
is.
to Aditi's point, it is a comeback. It's not like who's the better player.
And both were equally bad last year.
Yeah, but it's whose comeback story is better.
Exactly.
Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl.
You just argue. Well, that was 2 years ago. There's nothing to do with this award.
Does Baker win a Super Bowl?
No, because he's not any good. He can't win a Super Bowl.
He's not any good.
It's a comeback.
Aditi, we got to move on
because
from last
Jay,
year.
Baker has to deal with people like Adam who refuse to acknowledge.
You're right. And
I shouldn't say he's not any good. He's decent. He's decent.
Well, look, we got to move to other topics. So,
Yeah.
but Bull gave you his case for Matthew Stafford, and it's a fine case, and he's had a fine year. I'll just read a couple of things that will blow you away. It blew me away. It blew this panel away.
Because he leaves
Bull
out.
was so worried when I was reading my stats.
Yeah.
He dug into his phone and found any number that would
any
show
number.
Stafford was better.
He's got better stats across the board, Stafford.
Who would have known the comeback player of the year was so crucial?
It was feisty.
So
this is crazy.
here's the baseline case for Baker. He's had more touchdowns and fewer picks than Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tua, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, and C.J. Stroud. Those are pretty good quarterbacks. He's had more touchdowns than all of them and fewer picks than all of them. Only one quarterback in the league this year has more touchdowns and fewer picks than Baker, and that's Dak Prescott. So, I mean, when you look at what he's
Conveniently
done,
leaving out rushing touchdowns and fumbles.
Okay, throw him in there.
Yeah,
it's not an MVP. It's not an MVP contest. It's which player has had the better comeback, and I just think that's easy. I think it's easy.
It is. It's Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
Good try.
All of that being said, Matthew Stafford's a 75 to 1 long shot. Baker's a 7 to 1 long shot.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just throwing the odds out there. Baker's 7 to 1, Stafford's 75 to 1. That's it.
Okay.
So how are you, Aditi? Why are you wearing purple?
You know, it's amazing because this is in many ways the best time of year because you've either got a team that is headed to the playoffs or you've got a team that is potentially going to start anew, like the Chargers, who I have this weekend. You have suspense, whatever, and it feels like I'm just getting wrapped up right now in these sort of like manufactured anger. And in Pittsburgh right now, it's over Kenny Pickett and people stirring the pot with unfounded character assassinations. But the other piece of it is, as I, have been sort of embroiled in this, sort of funny that there's this massive quarterback controversy, drama, nonsense, whatever you want to call it in Pittsburgh, and not in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's a nice change.
Oh, there certainly
It's
will
sort of
be
like
this
a role
offseason.
Oh, no. I've thrown it out. We're not having that. Listen, I've vowed to turn everybody off the radio. If you call up and you say anything about Flacco or Watson, I'm cutting you off. I'm going to enjoy my holiday like my dad said.
Yeah.
You guys better watch out. I'm enjoying my holiday season. I'm enjoying the playoffs, Aditi. We can talk about that down the road.
Good for you.
You
Good
know
for
that.
you.
You know that it's crazy, but you know that if Flacco does well in the playoffs, there are going to be fans that say he should stay as the starter, which is crazy.
Of course.
But these two lunatics sitting next to me said the Browns should sign Flacco to extension right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just these two lunatics. Bernie's in the studio.
Yeah.
Bernie said the second I asked him the question, in my mind, that extension's already signed.
I can't disagree with Bernie.
Come on now.
So if we're idiots, Bernie's an idiot.
Yeah, but here's what the problem is.
Oh, that's right.
Are you still committed to Deshaun Watson, and can the two of them coexist?
Of course.
And is that fair to Deshaun Watson if the first time he throws a pick, the fans are screaming for Flacco?
I don't
Which will
We're saving this conversation.
And
for the
after
offseason, Aditi, we're saving this.
Flacco has played this way,
We'll save it.
has played this way, you don't think that he's going to try to go someplace where he could potentially start?
I agree. He's good. There's going to be a lot of teams that are lining up. I don't know about a lot, There will be multiple teams lining up to pay Joe Flacco if he makes a deep playoff run with the Cleveland Browns. I think that's the way it's going to be.
Aditi, is Russell Wilson going to be the Steelers quarterback next year? Sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Russell Wilson starting for the Steelers next year? Who is it?
Yeah, no.
Who is it?
No.
Who will it be? Who?
I mean, that's why there's so much drama and everything here. I don't think I also am on the record saying I don't think that we've really gotten to see who Kenny Pickett can be, and that his true potential has not been uncovered because it's been such a disastrous offensive situation for the year and a half.
Yeah, but they bring in Mason Rudolph, and Mason Rudolph is playing in the same system. And he's
playing well, but remember, Josh Dobbs was taking the Minnesota Vikings by storm too. You're talking about a very small sample size, okay? And I'm not denigrating anything that Mason Rudolph is doing, but Mason Rudolph had legitimately already begun his planning for next year, which did not involve football. Mason Rudolph was sure that this was the end of his NFL career. Wow. He had already started the whole job search in Miami, what he was going to do, what field he would be in, was talking about turning the page and moving on. So Mason Rudolph, in a lot of ways like Joe Flacco, is playing with house money. There's no pressure on him. There's nothing that he has to prove. This is not Ben Roethlisberger is hurt for the year and Mason Rudolph has to prove that he's an NFL starting caliber quarterback. None of that. There is no pressure on him. He was halfway out the door. And it's wonderful that he's playing this way. There's no guarantee that he plays that way next year.
No, I get that.
We've had a large sample size of what Mason Rudolph is up until this moment. You certainly hope that if he wants to keep playing, he can keep sustaining this level of success. But again, I would tell you, we all thought Josh Dobbs was the second coming first few weeks in Minnesota. Look at what happened.
I know.
You're talking about 2 games here. Two games.
I agree with that. But I think what it does prove is that if someone can come in, whatever the story is, whoever that player is, whatever their experience level is, if someone can come in and have success in that same identical system, I think to me it diminishes the argument that the system is broken and it can't be successful. Someone's made it work. Now,
sure,
I'd
but
like to see
here's what I would
term.
say. But here's what I would say, Jay. Jay, to that I would say is that the Steelers had an offensive coordinator who game planned, prepped, installed, unlike any other quarterback, any other coordinator in the National Football League. Okay? It was not a setup seen in any other NFL building.
What was different
then
about it?
Finally, Mike Tomlin makes a change, and he installs this two-headed offensive coordinator situation, which is sort of very odd. There's one coordinator and there's another play caller, and they have to work together, but they have to work together within the parameters of what was already installed in August. So how many changes can you really make? But the way that this works is each week you have some cumulative reps, in which case you can do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And the entire offense as a whole, be it the run game, be it how the wide receivers are used, each week the offense around the quarterback position is getting better because it's one more week removed from that disaster of what was the previous situation.
I agree.
So, and I'm not the only one who said this. I think it was, I hate to misquote, but I believe it was either Dan Orlovsky or Chris Sims, and I shouldn't even name either of them. I think it was Chris Sims who said, hey, Mason Rudolph did some good things, but they weren't against the most outstanding defenses at the moment. And if you look at it, and again, this game is about points. It is not about yards.
Right.
But Kenny Pickett, in his very first game under this new regime of this two-headed offensive coordinator play caller, actually had more yards against the Cincinnati Bengals than Mason Rudolph did. And I get it. It's about points. It's not about yards. But sometimes finishing the drive, getting in the end zone, those last things are things that happen once you've got those cumulative reps.
Well,
so again,
that's a fair
I'm
point.
not diminishing. I'm not at all diminishing what Mason Rudolph has done. I'm just saying, let's slow your roll. I mean, this is not Joe Montana here, okay?
No, I know.
But Didi, let me ask you this question. Let me give you this. So you meaning to tell me, so the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've had some issues with coordinators, moving around. They've had some issues with a quarterback they drafted and a quarterback they've had and some controversy and doing things like that. And It just seems like the Pittsburgh Steelers sound a little bit like the Browns. I mean, I'm like this sounds
You're forgetting some selfish behavior from wide receivers.
yeah, just
Star wide receivers who care more about their own health than helping their team score a touchdown.
Is
Forgetting that.
this a knock? Is this a hit? Like I'm not saying because here I enjoy it all. I listen. I've
still
had
going to finish
I
with a winning
enjoy
record.
The difference is the Browns
No,
are stuck
but you
in
know what?
crap. The
Here's
Bills
what
are
I would
stuck in
say.
mediocrity.
Is it a change?
Yes.
Gee, here's what I would say about all of that.
Okay.
Everything can change in just an instant. So you as Browns fans right now enjoy this moment.
That's
Don't
true.
worry about next year.
I
Don't
agree with
sit
that.
here and say, what do we do with Joe Flacco and Deshaun Watson? Don't sit here and say, what about this person and that person's contract? You have no idea what's happening next year because life comes at you fast in the National Football League.
That's right.
So don't waste this moment. This
Yeah.
is an
There you go.
amazing
There you
ride
go.
right now for the Cleveland Browns fans. Enjoy it.
And
Don't
we've
wait
had,
for
what,
the next
2
year.
winning seasons?
Don't be looking to tomorrow. Enjoy today.
Yes.
Especially, Aditi, when you're relying on your defense, because we know that from year to year, it's not like just relying on your quarterback where the guy's good, he's usually going to be good most years. Whereas I was listening to my old radio show yesterday for a little while, and there was a couple of callers in a row that said, oh, this is the start of great things for the Browns. Their defense is going to be great for years. Maybe, but you can't predict that from year to year.
Hey, Adam, until this year, we were worried that JOK couldn't stay healthy.
Exactly. Yeah, you
It
never
took
know
this
from
long
year to
for
year.
JOK to be this person. We're still a little bit worried about Denzel Ward's health.
Yes.
You know, all of these things are in question to some degree. And so, again, yeah, and you have no idea. Right now, everybody's happy. But what happens if somebody on that defensive front all of a sudden thinks that they're worth a lot more money, or they want a lot more money, or has somebody in his ear saying, don't do this, don't do that? You have no idea what's going to happen in the future. So again, enjoy this ride right now, because it will never again be this exact team under these exact circumstances.
Yeah, and the victory lap thing is dicey because if the
Big time.
Steelers win this weekend, which is possible, and the Browns lose, which is possible, they're a missed San Francisco field goal from having the exact same record. So
Well, I mean, you could
I
say
know
that
you
about
can
a
do
lot
but
of
what
games,
I'm saying
but,
is we can't
yeah.
tap dance on Pittsburgh's
No.
grave because they may make the
There's no
playoffs.
grave. Yes,
No,
there's
there is
no
no grave.
I'm
come
finally
on.
You're done. You're out of that
finally
business.
done saying the Steelers are going to finish under 500. I will say that they've been mediocre for a long
That's
time.
fair.
And I think it's a great I not only should they stick with Kenny Pickett next year, if I were the Steelers, I'd sign him to a long-term extension and keep him as my quarterback for the next decade.
We co-signed
I
that.
don't, you know,
Aditi.
I don't know that it's mediocre, but it's average. Because remember, half of the teams make
Yeah.
the playoffs. Okay, and they haven't won a playoff game in you know how long, and
Yep.
they've only won 3 in the last 12 years. So all of those things, average. And that's not what you associate with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's not. No, it's
That's
not
true.
on their brand. Aditi, thank you very much. Happy New Year to you.